Hey there, Meeple peoples. I'm Mark, and together with Jessica, Katie, and Greg, I want to welcome you to a 5 things that is very different than normal. It almost feels like an after-school special type of 5 things, or one of those comedy episodes where they take a heavy-handed turn to try to tackle controversial themes. Tonight, on a very special 5 things, Greg finally stages an intervention over Mark's hatred of cute animal games.
You know, there's nothing really wrong with Calico.
Saying that you're not my dad. Nah, seriously, on today's 5 things, we're going to give everyone in the Meeple Society the opportunity to go listicle. Have we put together a theme that we want to hear everyone's responses on? So today we're scratching everyone's collective gray matter and asking them each to give us the top 5 games you want to play but don't own.
5 things.
So before we begin, let's give some loose ground rules here that kind of in the manner of true gamers, you can just feel free to ignore.
You say, shouldn't we have gone over those before we made our lists?
Right?
You cannot have ever owned these
Right.
games, sold them off it, and now just flog yourself daily with regret over
Right.
them.
Okay.
Okay. And the games cannot be from a crowdfunding campaign that you have back and are just awaiting fulfillment on.
Okay.
Okay. That good. And just to be a curmudgeon, I think we should count down from 5 to 1. But I'll take
Yeah.
dissenting opinions if someone wants to.
No,
tell us
that's how we
otherwise.
did.
Nope. 5 to 1.
I added
That
one more
works.
stipulation to mine. Y'all didn't have to do that though, because
Sure.
when you started this up, I was like, I came up with 11 games right off the top of my head. But one of them I took out because I didn't bring it in because, yes, it's in somebody else's collection. No, it's not in our collection, but I've already played it. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and
I
that
get
was
that.
Tricarion.
Okay.
Game's
that
great.
one.
And then you
Yeah.
took out 5 more, right?
Yes, I only have 5. I've got 5 honorable mentions, so I still
Fair
have them
question.
listed, but
Fair question.
yeah,
Okay. All right. So who wants to begin?
just go in order how we introduce ourselves. I don't care. Or Mark, you can go last or first, or
I can go last.
Okay.
I'll go last. I'll bring up
there
the
you
rear.
go. It's your
Okay.
show on this one.
Okay. Well, then I guess I will start.
Yep.
All right. So my number 5 is, well, it was a Kickstarter, just came out, well, according to my notes, say this year, but it is Return to Dark Tower from Restoration Games.
Mm.
Mhm.
This is well, gosh, it is a big, grand game. And I think that's what's attracted it to me. I like cube towers. I like the idea of cube
Mhm.
towers. This one spits out skulls. So how could that not be appealing, right?
Right.
Exactly.
It has a push your luck mechanism, which I am finding the more and more I play, the more and more I like push your luck. I'm not any good at it. I always fail at that mechanism, but I like it. So it can be played cooperative or competitive. So not sure how that works. A lot of games that offer both aren't great, but I've heard great things about this one. So I'm anxious to try it. My only kicker on this one and why it sits at number 5 instead of higher is that it requires an app and you cannot play without the app.
Yeah,
That's why it sits at number
Yeah.
5.
because the app controls the tower.
Yes, the app literally Bluetooths into the tower and controls the tower itself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh.
So I want to play it. I don't feel like I need to own it for that reason, but we have a couple friends who have backed the Kickstarter. So
Mhm. And he's got it.
hopefully-
So
yeah, so hopefully we'll get a chance to play it with one of
Yeah.
them.
now we
So-
saw this at the Dice Tower retreat last year. It was like,
did, and
oh
never got a
God,
chance
why
to
did
play
we
it.
not back this? This looks
Right?
awesome.
In fact, I was watching a video on it earlier and they kept talking about how they had to move the tower because you can't see the other side of the board because the tower is so big. And I'm thinking, ooh, my lazy Susan would come in handy because it's a round board.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Okay.
just an idea. If you own Dark Tower, find yourself a good lazy Susan. It'll work, I
Mhm.
promise. So but that's my number
Absolutely.
5, Return to Dark Tower.
All right.
Jess.
All right, Jess.
Go, Jess.
Okay, so my number 5 isn't some huge, grand, expensive game. It's kind of ridiculous. And the reason why I haven't played it is because I can't fathom anybody actually playing it with me.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
This game is Cinder by Smirk and Laughter Games. It came out in 2020. This is a card game. It is a dating simulator. It's a dating simulator card game where you are a fantasy creature person, humanoid, and you are trying to find yourself a dragon for dating, for love. It's ridiculous.
Oh.
I
This
think
sounds
I
like
might
an
have
interesting-
actually have just gone and went and bought it if it wasn't just dragons. If it was like different, like, orcs and, manticores and minotaurs. And, I think I would have just been like, I don't care, I'm getting it. But
Okay, so this sounds like something we need to find, pick up, and do a video of. It
This
just
sounds-
sounds that ridiculous.
This sounds right up Mark's alley, though. I don't know why you wouldn't have got it.
True.
it is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh my God. I think I can think of a half a dozen people right off the top of my head who would love something like this.
What a game's gone to. Okay.
Yep, but it's just basically, you're just trying to make that connection. And if you roll too many little flamey icons on your dice, then you get burned. And I guess it's not a match. But, that's what happens when, you're trying to romance dragons.
Don't swipe left too many
This
times.
isn't, this is not some sweeping epic. This is a pretty, affordable game, but it's
Mhm.
just so out there. I don't know, man.
Okay.
Okay.
My number 5 is a game I know Katie's going to want to play because we've already said we wanted to play it. This is Chimera Station.
Okay.
It's a worker placement game, but it has customizable workers where you're going to go in the game. Basically, you're building a space station, and in the game, you're going to take your workers and you can go to a splicing section and put pieces on your workers, and the pieces you put on allow you to do different stuff when you go to a place on the board in the station and stuff. So, I mean, there's like leaves and pinnacles and claws. And is that it? I think that might be it. It's like 3 or 4 different types, though. But you can put 2 different pieces on it. So, and they actually snap together. So there's these little weird looking aliens running around. But we seen it at the Dice Tower Retreat, but we never got a chance to play it because it was out a lot. But unfortunately, this is a TMG game. And since TMG is no more, it's going to be really hard to find now. And this came out in 2017. So good luck finding it and not having to pay a lot for it. But
Well, we
maybe
may have to hunt it down at the retreat this year and
play it.
get it played. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's Chimera Station.
Okay, cool. Now my number 5 is admittedly one that I probably know the least about. But what I've heard about this game just really grabs me, and it's got a very mature and less casual side to it. And that's This War of Mine by Awaken Realms. You play as a group of civilians trapped in a war-torn city. It's a survival game, and it has a very real world feel. And I know I've heard a lot of really good things about it. And I know it's kind of a game that doesn't necessarily sit well with everyone. It's very dark. You take shelter in a ruined tenement house, and you're like removing rubble. You're searching through various rooms, building your own beds, workshops and stuff like that. So it's kind of got that that post-apocalyptic feel, or the zombie apocalypse type feel. But there's a little, I mean, in those kind of games, you never really feel like, it's real. You feel like, there's a little bit of poking fun beneath the surface. And this game feels like it will have like really serious, hard, life affecting choices for the characters. And I've heard people say it's even gut wrenching. So I just for the experience, I would really like to play this game. So that's this war of mine. That's my number 5.
Yeah, I've been interested in this game, but I don't know. It's got that really dark thing to it. And so it's kind of on the fence. I've even picked it up at a game store and almost bought it and was like, let me go find out more about this game.
All right. Well, my number 4 is another one that was newly released on Kickstarter this year. This is the Librarian's Adventure card game. I came so close to backing this. I really did. But at the last minute, I didn't. And then I saw pictures of people getting it a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, why didn't I back this? All right. So this was published by Everything Epic, designed by Brett Schofield. Essentially, this is a CCG, a collectible card game. And I think that's the main reason I passed on it. It is a collectible card game. It is very much like Marvel Champions. You can either play with your pre-built deck, or you can build your own deck within specific parameters. Everything I've seen looks really good. The artwork is all show stills, but I don't know. I just want to try it. I don't need to own it. I'm okay with not owning it, but I want to play it. I loved this series. I like the movies. It's cooperative, like I said, just like Marvel Champions. So I don't think I need a second one similar to this, but I still want to play it at least once. So hopefully I can find somebody who backed it and get a couple plays in of it. So, but anyway, that is the Librarian's Adventure card game.
All right. My number 4, where am I?
4.
My number 4 is a game that's been around for a long time, actually now. And I can't remember exactly if I've ever played it, but if I have, it's been a very long time. I've never owned it, but it's the Red Dragon Inn.
Okay.
You know, 2007 was when it first came out. It's had tons of expansions. It's from Slugfest Games, but it's just kind of a ridiculous gambling, drinking type of game. And it seems like it would just be kind of a fun, you know, I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of a fun, quirky little game. I don't know if I'd want to own it. I don't know how much, because there's so many expansions, and it just feels like that would be like a rabbit hole that I just don't need to jump into. But I think it'd be a lot of fun to actually play.
Yeah, we've played this game once.
Yeah,
and that was with
Daniel.
Yeah. We actually played with him, and neither one of us really liked it that much, but it could have been
okay, but
I played it before that at Gen Con once. It was probably about 11 years ago. So yeah, I played it a couple times, and it's
okay for what it is.
I was gonna say it's kind of forgettable, but for what it is, you can kind of get into it and.
Yeah, it just wasn't my style.
You know, it's just if you ever
be appealing to people, and I know it's a very popular game, or it wouldn't have as many. It wouldn't have a rabbit hole full of expansions. But it's just not my kind of game. So I think that's why
I just
never came back to it.
Yeah, if you ever get it, maybe we all just get together and play it and we'll see how it goes.
I think it's going to be dependent on. Yeah,
I think
it's going to be. I think it's the kind of game
people you
have
play
to
with.
go into with the right frame of mind.
And we didn't know what we was getting into when we played it. So
yeah.
And plus, on top of that, there's a little bit of, if I remember right, there's a little bit of take back to that to the game, and that's something that can be hit and miss depending on the group that you're with.
And again, that's where the frame of mind comes in.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the
right
game
frame of mind for take that games. At least I do.
Yeah, and that I think was part of the game. Part of the problem of the game, because Daniel knew the game really well, and me and Kate, it was our first play, and we had no idea what we were doing yet. And
full disclosure, we've actually backed the Tales of the Red Dragon in adventure game, which is not the card game,
Okay.
but it's based on the
Oh,
characters
did we
from
end
the
up
Red
backing
Dragon
that?
Inn.
Mhm.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right.
That's all good.
Okay, my number 4. This is a very odd theme for me. This is from Academy Games from 2012, and this is one of them that's on the list. I don't know if Katie would play it with me, but I think my son would. And this is Freedom, the Underground Railroad. This is all about, it's a cooperative that where you're working together, working for the abolitionist. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Abolitionists.
Abolitionist. That's the word I'm looking for. Movement, but to help bring the end of slavery in the United States.
Yes.
I just thought the theme was very intriguing.
Yeah.
I'm like going, I don't know if I want to own it, but I at least want to play this game just to see how it plays. It just seemed really cool. It's a 60 to 120 minute game. So, and it's a co-op. So it'll be interesting.
I wouldn't mind playing this one at least once.
And I've seen it hitherto has it. I've seen it almost every time we've walked in there. It's always been there on the shelf. And there's been so many times like going, I want to play this game, but I don't know if I pick it up if Katie would play it with me. So I haven't picked it up yet, and I haven't played it yet. So, but I think I saw it on the shelves at the Dice Tower Retreat. So maybe we pick it off the shelf and try it.
Yes, I think that's a good plan.
But yeah, so that's Freedom Underground Railroad.
So my number 4. Now let me be completely honest here. I'm not going to say we are never going to eventually get this, because there is a campaign coming up very soon, and price point dependent, we might be backing it. I'm not for sure on that though. And that's Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. Price tag obviously is going to be a huge question on this. Now, that said, it makes my list for a few reasons. The idea of the darker fantasy based on Arthurian legend and a kind of campaign-driven storytelling game. And then you've got like corrupted fantasy Britain drawing on the myths and legends there. And that would be something that would really hit my wheelhouse. And then the second is that it's produced by Awakened Realms. So if you've seen their other works, they do some stupid good production quality on their miniatures and stuff. Sometimes I've heard that some of their games are kind of hit and miss, but their production quality just can't be freaking questioned. So I would love to take a look at this and play it and see what the story system and the combat is like, and see if it's a game that we would actually even follow through on. I do worry a little bit that it might be a little bit too grimdark for my tastes, because it seems like ever since Kingdom Death Monster came around, a lot of the games that are ostensibly fantasy have kind of twisted that direction to, can we make the most, hideous, grotesque type stuff as opposed to just continuing forward with a great fantasy. Even before the new GameFound preview came out, this was one that was kind of in my wheelhouse, and I really wanted to try it out and see how it worked. Then I could look at making our wallet cry.
You just might on that one. All right. Well, my number 3 is Meeple Land. This one came out in 2020. It was published by Blue Orange Games. This is a tile laying game where you are building an amusement park. Do I need to say any more? The cover is absolutely, it's cartoonish. It is adorable. There is lots of decision space on this one on where you're placing your tiles. The tiles are all different shapes and sizes. I think they're all squares or rectangles, but nonetheless different sizes and stuff. You're connecting your paths throughout the park. If you don't, you lose points. There's decisions on when you buy extra land to expand your park if you need to, which visitors to attract to the park so that you make the most money, which attractions to put next to your ride so you get income from them, just all sorts of stuff. It just looks really intriguing, and it's Blue Orange Games, so I can only assume the components are fantastic, because most of theirs are. I really enjoy Blue Orange Games. But so yeah, that is Meeple Land. I would love to play it. I would not be opposed to purchasing this one, but I definitely want to try it first to see if it's something that would actually hit the table more than once. So, but yeah, that's Meeple Land.
My number 3 is Wonderland's War. It is a new game. It just came out this year from Druid City Games. So it's 2022. And it is just, oh my gosh, the components are beautiful. You're playing in factions, you're playing against each other. You've got a giant table for tea time that you're kind of running around. And I mean, there's no way I could actually explain this and do it any sort of justice.
Right.
But it is just beautiful and brightly colored, and it's Alice in Wonderland. It's a darker Alice in Wonderland, so got me there. But it is gorgeous, and I think it was just really fulfilled. It was on Kickstarter.
Yeah, I've seen it all over the place here lately. It
And
looks
so
really neat.
I've been dying inside because I won't get it, because I've heard that because of the faction situation, to take that obviously, but it's better with more than 2 players. And a game this size, the cost to get all the good stuff, it's just not going to work as a 2-player game. It's not going to get to the table enough, but it is beautiful, and I'm definitely pining for it in my own way.
To find somebody who backed it and at least get a couple plays in of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm next, ain't I?
Yes.
I was sitting here like, who's next? Who's next? Anyway, so my number 3 is another game I think Katie's going to want to play. I think we've discussed this before and decided we wanted it, but we haven't found it. And that is CO2 Second Chance.
Yes.
This is a Vitalis started game from 2008, Stronghold Games. But the goal of this game is to stop the increase of pollution while meeting the rising demands of sustainable energy, all while making a profit. But that's not the true reason I want to play the game. The main reason is because it's a Lacerda game, and I haven't found a Lacerda game yet that we don't like. So Lacerda
to be fair, we only have 3 of them, but
yes, and I've liked all 3 of them.
Really liked all 3 of them, yeah.
Because Lacerda games have a lot going on, and it's one of those that when you get done, you feel like you've been in a workout. And I like that in a game, so but I've heard a lot of good things about the game. So, and this is actually basically the second edition, because there was actually CO2 out, and now they have Second Chance because you couldn't find CO2.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and I love the theme on this one. So this is one I would definitely like to play and or eventually add to the collection.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a whole shelf of Lacerda games back here eventually.
But this is a Stronghold game. It's not an Eagle Griffin game, so it won't fit there with Mars and.
Well, see, that doesn't work then. Never
and
mind.
Kanban and
that I did
Lisboa. Right. Okay, but yeah, that's CO2 Second Chance.
Okay. My number 3 is Dwellings of Eldervale. Dwellings of Eldervale takes area control, worker placement, and tableau building and kind of meshes it all together in a fantasy realm where factions are vying for control over 8 elemental realms and using that to exert dominion over the land of Eldervale. And I realize that description may not make it seem like it's something for me, because it kind of feels like another soulless Euro with a peel away theme. But the more that I've looked at it, the more that I feel like there's a lot more beneath the surface here than just like your standard worker placement and build your economy type game. To begin with, you actually come into conflict with other players, and when you place workers, you might run into monsters, and when you do, you get to chuck dice to fight them. So that number 1, helps out quite a bit. And then the game itself looks phenomenal, with all the added mesh of smushing all the mechanics together and having a decent fantasy theme. And it makes it look like it would be something that I would really enjoy. Now, there's 2 reasons why I haven't even really strongly considered this in the first place. Price point again. I mean, this is a game that the normal version looks pretty freaking blinged out. So it's already running like $100, but in order to get the one with the miniatures rather than standees, and it looks like this is the kind of game that actually deserves that kind of thing, you're looking at another 50 plus bucks. So yeah, that kind of hampers it a little bit. But then on top of that, I have some concerns that without meaning to, the design of the game will actually kind of rub cheeks with a game that I have already pre-ordered and am anxiously awaiting on, namely Vindication. Both of them are kind of fantasy themed game with great art, but heavily Eurocentric mechanics. And I don't know that our shelves are ready for two of those. So I'll happily be proven wrong if it boils down to it, but I'd like to give it a play just to see.
Yeah.
This is one that I
This
wouldn't
is-
mind playing.
Yeah, me too.
I seen it on Kickstarter and I was like, I don't know if that's for me or not. But the more I've seen it now and the more playthroughs I've seen of it, I'm like, maybe I do want to play this game.
Yeah.
The idea that when you regroup your meeples, you get to make them make actions on top of it is actually kind of cool too. So it's like you get to do actions by moving them out there based on the hexes they move on to. And then when you regroup them, you can put them onto cards that you already have in your tableau. So there's actually some tableau building on top of it.
Yeah.
It looks very interesting.
It
It is definitely one that I would want to get. And I feel like if I got this one, I would want to go ahead and go a little bit extra. Maybe not, they've actually got the stupidly bling out one that actually has little sound bases for your monsters.
Oh,
jeez.
goodness.
That's a little bit too much in my
Yes.
opinion. But
Yeah.
the step up where they have the miniatures, because the miniatures are already painted in the elemental colors.
Oh, nice.
So they are pre-painted.
Okay. Well, my number 2, moving up, is On Tour. This was published in 2019. It is a roll and write game published by boardgametables.com, designed by Chad Deshawn. So in this one, and I don't know, this one has just always looked very appealing to me. Maybe it is because it looks like a road trip waiting to happen. And that is essentially what it is. You are rolling 2 10-siders and having to use both of the numbers. So if you roll a 4 and a 7, you're using 47 and 74, and you have to place those on your board. You are basically playing as a band who is trying to plan the best route for your tour across the continental United States. And you're placing the numbers on the map in each state, and you have to be able to link all of those numbers consecutively to plan your route. So I feel like there's a ton of decision space here on where to place the numbers that you've rolled to make the best connections. The components look fantastic. They're really thick dry erase. Every player gets a really thick dry erase board of the continental US, plus the dry erase markers. And from everything I've seen, you can even pick up extra copies of it to add more players. It comes with 4, but the box is big enough that you can actually fit 12 boards in it if you get extra copies of the game to play more people. So I don't know. It just looks right up my alley in terms of roll and writes. And Lord knows I like my roll and writes. So this just, yeah.
I wonder if this is where the Truck 12 got their ideal from.
It might be.
Because
It might
Truck
very well
12
be.
kind of does the same thing.
Yeah, where the numbers have to be consecutive or matching, because it's the same thing. The numbers all have to be consecutive or matching in order to plan your route. So you can't connect. You can't go 64, 65, 63. It has to be, but yet you have to put them out in a certain pattern. You can't just draw your lines wherever you want. There are pre-drawn lines on the map that you have to choose. So, I mean, you have multiple options on coming out of each city, but you still can't jump from one to another without the lines crossing, and you can't go through another city that doesn't fall in line number wise. So I don't know, just looks right up my alley. I really want to try this one. Not horribly expensive from what I understand. So you may be looking for this guy. We'll see, but I want to try him. So that is On Tour.
My number 2 is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. It's from 2019, published by Monolith. I don't know, man. It's just it's huge. It's so many
Batman.
minis.
It's Batman. Yeah.
The art is fantastic. All the different little
Mhm.
boards. I don't know. I really, it's Batman.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Self-explanatory.
it's an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic thing. The only bad thing that I have really heard about this is the rule book.
Yes, I've heard the rule book is crap.
Yeah, and hopefully by this point in time, maybe somebody on BGG has like, I don't know, ironed it out
Revamped
a
it.
little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you would think the
Um,
company would hopefully do that if there was enough call for it, but I don't know.
Yes.
I haven't looked into it.
You think?
There's
but
also
hopefully-
the
yeah.
Batman the animated series one, which looks really
Mm.
good,
Mhm.
Huh.
but I don't know. This one just
Calls to you.
Yeah.
it grabbed me a little bit more. It was a little bit more, little grittier.
Yeah.
Like my Batman, a little gritty.
Me, Katie knows somebody that has one of the two. He went all in on the Kickstarter pledge.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
don't think he would let us borrow it, considering he hasn't played it yet. And
No, probably not.
that would be
We
from
might have to introduce y'all and do a
Yeah.
6-player game.
yeah. That's
We'll
you
see.
know
Whoosh.
your boy
Mhm.
Fresh from Coopple of Nerds,
Yes.
aka Doug. But yeah, he has it, and yeah, if we can find a copy and play it, I'll sit down and play it with you, Jess. I mean,
Yay.
Batman's my DC character. I mean,
Mhm.
that's who I grew
That
up
is his
liking.
alter ego.
Yes.
Don't let him lie to you.
Okay. So my number 2, we're back to games I don't believe Katie's going to want to play with me. This is actually a 2-player game from GMT Games. It's about the Cold War
Okay, yeah,
between
you'd
the
be right
US
on
and
this one.
Russia. And this is Twilight Struggle.
Yeah, this is all you.
It just intrigues me. I've heard so much. Tom Vasilo raves about this game, and I've heard a lot of other people that's played this game. They just love this game. And I know Katie's would never want to play it, so I haven't
No.
bothered picking it up. But
This is a you and Justin thing.
yeah, the Cold War kind of intrigues me. I mean, it like started what in the early 60s, maybe the late 50s. So I may be missing maybe all of maybe 7-8 years of the entire thing. So I lived the most of it. But yeah, this is something. Who knows? I could play Russia and change history, and now Russia rules the world. I don't know. But it even says that in some of the stuff that you can change history in it. So if I could find somebody to play with it and I could find a copy, I'd love to play this game. But I don't see it being in our collection anytime soon.
Nope, sorry.
So yeah, so that's my number 2, Twilight Struggle.
I've heard a lot of really good things about this game. Now, this is a theme that does not necessarily grab me either. I mean, once you start getting to like the post World War II,
Mhm.
that's really historically that's not necessarily my favorite time. I actually prefer pre World War One usually. Back when people actually had to see who they were killing. So that's
Right.
that's always been my thing when it comes to like wartime. I prefer back then, but the theme on this is actually kind of intriguing, even though it doesn't necessarily hit my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
All right, now my number 2, speaking of historicals, is actually the oldest game on my list, and this is Blood Rage by Cool Mini or Not. In Blood Rage, you utilize hand management, drafting, and area control for your Viking clan's warriors, leader, and ship. And from the blurb, Ragnarok has come and it's the end of the world. It's the Vikings' last chance to go down in a blaze of glory and secure their place in Valhalla at Odin's side. Who wouldn't want to do that? So this game looks every bit as epic as it sounds, and it has been really well received. Even for having been out 7 years, it's still pretty highly rated. It's got these really well done minis, and the game board is big and beautiful, and it has astounding table presence, and it looks the part of a game that I would really like to get to my table. And the price on it isn't even comparatively as bad. So why not pull the trigger? There's a couple reasons. Number one, we generally don't do a whole lot of seriously confrontational games. And while this one doesn't specifically penalize you for losing armies in battle, it can actually even be part of a winning strategy. That might still hit a little bit of a scance for us. And then too, a lot of it is also, we've got a few really good games with a Viking theme already, and we've got more on the way. So there's always that concern that maybe we're overkilling the theme a little bit. I know people will laugh at us because I sure as heck have not done that with fantasy themes, but a Viking theme, it's really hard to beat Champions of Midgard with the Valhalla add-on, and I don't know that I want to try.
Yeah, this is one I've thought of trying. I don't think I want the game though, but I just want to at least try it because I hear so much about this game. But yeah, we're not really into confrontational games, and I don't know exactly how confrontational this one could be.
Yeah.
If much.
Yeah, this is what I would have to have somebody who's very versed with it teach me, because I don't want to learn it. Just teach it to me quickly and let's go. But yeah, I wouldn't mind trying it once, just because it is such a game changer in the industry. I feel like it's so big out there despite how old it is.
Yeah, definitely. All righty, and on to number one.
And finally, number one. Okay, so my number one, Greg will totally agree with me on this one, even if he hasn't agreed on anything else yet. But this is Escape Plan by Eagle Griffin Games.
Yes. It's a Lacerda game.
We're going to add to the shelf here. Well, I would like to add to the shelf here. He would fit right here. Of course, that means I have to move other games, but that's okay. I'll do it. So this was published in 2019. It is a tile lane game where you are creating a modular city as the game progresses. The theme of this one just screams theme. You are playing as a group of bank robbers. It's not cooperative though. It is totally competitive. You are playing as a group of bank robbers who is trying to collect all the money they've hidden in different buildings throughout the city. Mind you, the buildings aren't there until you lay the tiles down. But you're moving around the board, trying to find this hidden money, avoiding the police as you go, because you don't want to get caught. All the while you're trying to figure out which of the 3 exits of the city you're going to be able to get through, but that's not revealed until the last round of the game, which is technically the last day of the game. So in order to win the game, you have to actually exit the city. But at the same time, it's whoever gets out of the city with the most money is the winner. So it's a balance of, do I go after that last stash or do I get the heck out and attempt to win? So it just looks really intriguing to me. I love the fact it's a modular board, so the board changes at every game. The escape route changes on every game because it's all a matter of the cards that come into play as to which exit you're trying to get out of. I don't know. It looks interesting. I love Vito Lacerda's games. The Eagle Griffin productions are always phenomenal. So yeah, it is one I would love to get a play in for sure of. Potentially add it to the collection eventually. Have to move a few other games in the process, but whatever. So yeah, that is my number one, Escape Plan.
Yeah, we've looked at this a couple times hitherto.
We have. And the only thing that has stopped us is the fact that it is a $140 game. Yeah. Is the price point. Vito Lacerda games are expensive. They are nice. Don't get me wrong. They're
very well produced.
But they are expensive. So it's not like something I can just pick up on a whim. I got a plan for it.
Most of the games you get him, whether you get a deluxe version or not, looks like, was this a Kickstarter version?
Yeah.
So, because they all come with game trays and everything already has its own place to go and everything fits nice in the box. And
do they make a non-deluxe version of these games?
I've
not seen one. So anyway, but that is Escape Plan.
My number one is a solo game, but I feel like it could be played by more than one person. It is the Final Girl series from Van Ryder Games.
I've never even heard of this one.
Yep,
Where have you been?
are
I
playing
apparently not
Final-
watching those.
You are playing the final girl in basically a slasher flick,
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense.
and you are you want her to survive, and it comes with you have the base game, but then you can buy all these additional games which come with different girls and different locations and killers and scenarios, and it's ridiculous. And I didn't get it, didn't pursue it when I first saw it come to Kickstarter, and then when I saw it come again to Kickstarter, because it's a solo game. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, I mean, Chronicles of Crime, those sort of things, we're just sitting there, you're playing one person.
Mhm.
So why couldn't I force my husband to sit next to me while I, played this? So I, don't feel like I'm playing a board game by myself. But it's I don't know. The people who've played it from what I can tell, have really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is one that Mike DeLisio just raves and goes on and on and
Yes.
on about
Yeah.
it. So
Hmm.
that's where
And
I've heard about
this
it.
would also be one that I would probably not. I would probably be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And part of that is, like you said, Chronicles of Crime, the Unlock series, all those games that we have that are exit games. They're not really. There's no major difference in gameplay between doing it with one person or doing it with four people. You're just basically banging out, okay, suggestions. This is what maybe we should do this. So I wouldn't see any major issue with that. I probably would give this I would give this an okay.
Got to see that price point though.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too.
It's
Yeah.
pretty niche, so I don't know. That is my number one on my very all over the place list of 5 games.
Okay, my number one is another 2-player game that Katie won't play with me. I already know she won't play with me. I don't even have to say it. It's another GMT game from 2007. It's a 90-minute to 120-minute game. That is 1960, The Making of a President. This is all
You are
about the
probably
Nixon
right.
Kennedy presidential campaign. So there's a lot of history involved in this. I know Justin would play it with me because he likes presidential history just like I do. This, I believe, though, would probably about 10 times more advanced than that Hail to the Chief game that we have.
That would not be hard to do.
that
saying.
you like lost horribly at.
It was a fun loss, but yes,
Mhm.
I lost pretty
But-
horribly to that one.
Yeah. So this one, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the game. I haven't researched it. I've just heard a lot about this game, and everybody I've heard talk about the game has really liked it and really said it's a great game. And if you ever get a chance to play it. So yeah, so I want to play this game. Like I said, it won't go into our collection because it'll just sit on the shelf and me just looking at it, longing to play it again. But I still want to play it. So yes, that's my number one, 1960, The Making of a President.
All righty. And my number one, we probably almost could have just called this the Awakened Realms 5 things on my end. So this is a game that it is almost a 4X game, except for that what you're exploring and where you're undergoing your tactical combat is in the realm of dreams and dreamers. And this is Ether Fields. There's more than simple exploration. There's puzzle solving and story too. So paraphrasing from the publisher's description, you learn about the dreamers, their forgotten paths, and what they want. You uncover surreal, sprawling dreamscapes. You undergo escape room-like riddles, spot a clue in an image, see a hidden link between several pieces of information, use your instinct as much as your logic. And in the beginning, you'll explore the dream world, trying to figure out what this is all about and who you are. And you're there for a specific reason too, apparently. So there's a lot of questioning to this and a lot of scattered information, memories from scattered pieces. And it just, oh my God, everything about this just seems like it would grab me in the most wonderful freaking way. Now the bad thing about this is obviously this is a campaign game, and God knows we have plenty of campaign games already. And there's some twistedness, the twistedness and the oozing theme. This would almost certainly hit both of our wheelhouses just right. But there's a steep price tag for all that pretty. And like most of these games, that's probably the biggest prohibitive step in us keeping from getting this one. But I would like to kind of play a scenario and see how it is and see if it would be worth that price point. Because just on the outset, the pictures that I've seen, the reviews I've seen, even the box art, that nice big looks like there's a hole cut into the box, is just so freaking pretty that it just like is screaming to be on our shelf. So that is my number one, which is Etherfields by Awaken Realms. So did you guys have any almost made?
Yes, I did. I got 5 other games that did not make my list.
I was lucky to come up with my 5. So no.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with Greg. I had 5 that almost could have made it.
Do we want to say them?
Yeah, we can say them. You don't have to go anything major.
No. See if you've even heard of them.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting if Katie's heard of them. So I'll go over mine 5 first here. I have Crokinole. Has anybody heard of Crokinole?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a dexterity flicking game that you're trying to get the things and your tokens in the center. Dominant species. Where you're basically trying to be a dominant species. I don't know if I want it in a collection though, because I doubt if it'll come off the shelf much. I just want to play it at least.
Yeah.
Through the Ages.
Yeah.
Dungeon Twister. Have you heard of Dungeon Twister?
I have heard of it.
This
but
is it's an old dungeon crawl game, believe it or not. But the cool thing about this game is some of the rooms in there is, as the title says, twists. So you could be like coming in a room in one area, and then for some reason in the game, that room just rotates. And now you can't go back out where you just came. You've got to go farther into the dungeon or into a different part of the dungeon. And there's multiple rooms in a dungeon that they just twist. So it just diverts your direction. So it sounded, it sounded really cool, but good luck finding this because this has been out of print for a very long time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And the last one, unless you're a millionaire, you're never going to get a copy of, and that is Glory to Rome. This is a card-based game where you're building a city, and it has multi-purpose cards, which I love, like Bruges, where you can each card does something different, has different things on it you can use it for. But I've heard this game is amazing too, but it's never going to come back into print, and I think copies are going for like $500 to $700 a piece. Wow. The artwork on it is trash.
It is,
but the game is supposed to be fantastic where you overlook the artwork. So, but yeah, that's the 5 that didn't make, and plus the one I disqualified, which was Stricarium, because I already played it.
Okay, so let's hear the 5 that I got. Number 1, historically, the Lincoln assassination trial.
Yes.
I actually would like to check this out. From what I gather, it actually kind of uses the same mechanic as Lawyer Up, or at least a variation of the mechanic, where it's basically a tug of war type game. So you are trying to get the jury to lean your direction. Mythic Battles Pantheon looks amazing. It's a mythic game. And it is just so much, it's miniature battles. That's one of the reasons there was no way I was going to even put it on my list, because it's probably got like so many rules that I'd never be able to understand it all. But it looks pretty. It looks really pretty, and it's got a mythical theme, and that's really kind of grabs me. Oathsworn is another one. I twisted myself out of backing Oathsworn, and I'm hopeful that I'm not gonna, like beat myself over that for long periods of time. Ankh, Gods of Egypt. That looks interesting. It also looks very well produced. But again, kind of falls in the whole blood rage thing where there's a lot of conflict, and I don't know that it would fit in our wheelhouse too
I
well.
was to say that's the last of the three, because it was Blood Rage. Why am I forgetting one of them? But Ankh was one of those three trilogies, but I can't remember the third.
Rising Sun.
Rising Sun, yeah, it was Rising Sun, Blood Rage, and that was supposed to be like a trilogy of games, and Ankh was the last one. Yeah, that one looks pretty good.
And finally, like going really obscure, it's called Dungeon Universalis. It is like old school type D&D dungeon crawl. I mean, it's like I almost backed it on Kickstarter, and they're actually going through their third iteration right now. Everything is standees. Comes with a book of like something like 650 monsters.
Holy
types.
Wow.
But what I've heard about it is it's kind of set up like Descent, in which usually you would use a dungeon master basically against one person or against other people. And it's got a dark AI, but I've heard that the setup for it like can take just as long as doing a campaign for like D&D where you're doing pre-prep work. And I was like, I want to try that, but no, I don't know that I could put that much time into it. So that would be one I would be more than willing to play, but I don't know that I can like set up a campaign for it. But it looks it actually looks kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, there was one that I thought about, and I was like, no, I couldn't get past the rules because that's feudum. And I've heard the rules teach alone could take up to 3 hours. I'm like, I am not going to sit for 3 hours learning a game and then still not sure. And it's one of those games too that you could lose just into the game. You could already know you're going to lose, and yeah.
We can't watch 20-minute walkthroughs without falling asleep.
Right? Exactly. Could you imagine a 3-hour teach by Rodney Smith?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen.
That sounds brutal.
How many people could actually say they lasted through it?
All righty, and that is a very special 5 things.